thought it was funny. I received a comment either last night or earlier today. I think it was today. Because y'all probably know that my sleep schedule is all kinds of whack. I didn't go to bed till like maybe 6 a.m. So I come home from work and then I immediately start watching my videos and I put them up on the internet. And sometimes I'll pass out on the floor. But I didn't have to be at work until like 4 o'clock today. So if I have to be at work in the morning, and by morning I mean 11 o'clock, I'll probably go to bed maybe around 2 or 3, possibly 4 at the latest. But yeah, this person left a comment that was like, you complain about people being judgmental, but you're judging people. I don't know if this is satire or a mental breakdown. Which I find absolutely hilarious because, you know, they've obviously never seen me break down. But, you know, I thank this person for their feedback and watching it, even if they didn't like it. And I told them that I'm a comedian, and I said a cluster A personality type is what it is. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I don't think that mental illness is an excuse. I think it's a reason. If your brain is different, your behavior is going to be different, you know? And I think that a lot of people will get mad because you say things that are mean, and then people will get mad because you're too soft. And I think one of my other subscribers, who's a pretty huge fan of mine, from my understanding, has an issue with the fact that I'm not gonna be mean to homosexuals. Well, homosexuals are my people, you know, they're mentally ill. So I'm trying to escort them back into the closet, you know. The only closet that's really necessary is the schizophrenic closet, because that's the only one that society really has an issue with. Everything else they can make money off of. If they can make money off of that disorder or that kind of deviance, they're going to do that, you know? So back when things were more traditional, back when life made a little bit more sense, society wasn't encouraging kids to cut their dicks off. Back then, back in the good old days, homosexuality, that was very, very frowned upon. Like, you couldn't talk about that, or you would be an outcast of society. And you would legitimately have to worry about something bad happening to you, okay? But now, it's totally fine to be that way. And it's like the total opposite, you know? They're encouraging people to be gay. I have a friend of mine that works at Amazon, and she said that it's just absolutely absurd. Like, all the stuff that they're pushing, all this, like, LGBT stuff and racial stuff, and it's all about the woke crap. So yeah, I'm not in favor of any of that shit. My job here in America is to try to encourage people that don't fall in to that category of people that just sort of accept degeneracy. And I'm here to tell them that it's okay that you're the way that you are, but you don't have to fuck with all that, you know? Because I think that they're really between a rock and a hard place right now. Like, if you're gay in America and you don't subscribe to all that stuff, and perhaps you don't even want to be gay, perhaps you would much rather be straight, perhaps you don't think that that's a good thing. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to give in to that. But that is your choice, you know? And I'm also not here to tell you that, oh, well, you shouldn't give in to that, you know? Like, it's not my place to police everybody and their sexual activity. Like, yeah, I mean, most of the things that people are doing in regards to sex are wrong. According to the Orthodox Church, you know? But I understand that most people aren't religious like that. I understand that most people don't have that kind of morality that they're trying to uphold. And I don't expect that. I'm not pushing that on anybody. You know, I think pornography is fucking disgusting. I think that most people would be way better off if they didn't look at it. But they're probably not going to listen to me. You know? And so, I think that dogma is a huge hindrance to the faith. Because the more dogma that people exhibit, the less likely they are to win people with that dogma. But, yeah, I think what's happening because of the internet and because a lot of these people that are in these identity-obsessed communities, and I see this with everything. I see this with race. I see this with, you know, obviously sexuality and gender and all that. But, you know, you see it with a lot of stuff. Stuff that people really enjoy. And if you point this out to people, like, don't you think it's kind of hypocritical that you're so into this, but you want to complain about these people being so into that? You know, it's like we all have our thing that we're into. We all have this identity stuff that we're into. You know, the reason I address the schizo stuff is because it's not addressed in society. That is the most unpopular information, okay? And it's like the only way to talk about it is by going along with the mainstream and, you know, saying that you take your medication and you trust authorities. I mean, so many people, though, they talk about, like, even the ones on medication will talk about how horrible their experience was in a psychiatric hospital. So, you know, certain types of mental illness are definitely frowned upon, okay? But they can control it. If they can control the narrative about sexuality, that it's kind of obvious that at some point the tables are going to be turned. I don't think that'll ever happen with schizophrenia. I don't think that there will ever come a point in time where people go, yeah, schizophrenia is awesome. We should celebrate that shit, you know? We should embrace schizophrenia. We should have a parade devoted to our conspiracies, you know? Like, that's not going to fucking happen. But yeah. see that more people are talking about what I mentioned in the last video, though, about how that study on the ketogenic diet got pulled. But yeah, they hate telling people to be healthy, you know? They don't want people to be healthy because there's no money in health. There's only money in sickness and depression. I mean, if every single therapist was like, you know that you don't have to see yourself as a victim. You know, maybe these are just motions that you're going through and you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You shouldn't pity. You know, a lot of people are in this like self-pitying state where they just feel sorry for themselves, you know? I mean, you don't have to do that, but you also don't have to beat yourself up. You know, I attended Divine Liturgy yesterday, and my priest, he did this amazing homily where he was talking about how, you know, we really shouldn't judge our spiritual condition. He said, you know, if you're supposed to go through the motions, you got to go through the motions. That's just the way it is. It's like you got to be patient, you got to be persistent. And he was really talking about the passage in Matthew where Jesus tells his disciples, I want you to be fishers of men. And he was talking about, you know, the qualities that a fisherman is supposed to have in order to catch fish. And I was crying during that whole homily because, you know, I usually cry at some point during the service, but yeah, I just really relate to that. Because sometimes I really do judge myself on, you know, how I come across a lot of the time. And, you know, back to that comment that this person left, I know that I come across as judgmental. I know that, but that is part of the art form of comedy, and that's one of the reasons why I was so nervous to do it. And I was terrified to get on stage. And I know that this is very off-putting to the majority of people that listen to it, but to that tiny ass little pizza slice, like, they'll eat the fuck out of it, you know? So they really understand it, and it resonates with them, you know? But I don't want to just keep saying, well, I'm schizophrenic, this is why. But I mean, it is. It literally is. Like, I have a really dark perspective. But that's why I read the Bible as much as I do. You know, I don't think that many Christians read the Bible. And I don't know if it's because they don't understand it, or they don't think it's their responsibility as a Christian to read the Bible. I don't understand that. That's the living Word of God. If you claim to be following Christ, why wouldn't you always be reading something that would bring you closer to God? Start with the Psalms. If you're going to start anywhere, start with the Psalms. Because the Psalms are easily the most inspiring part of the Bible. And anything that you feel will be vindicated. I think a lot of times people just don't know how to read the Bible. You know? I mean, a self-help book. Okay, look at a self-help book. You're supposed to apply that, right? You're not just supposed to read it. You're supposed to go, how does this relate to me? How can I use this to better my life? How can I use this to better my outlook? Well, I think everything's the same. Every book's a self-help book. I think Mark Maron said that a long time ago. But, you know, I look at the Bible like it's the ultimate self-help book. But if you don't have discernment, it's going to fuck with you. So, you know, if you're OCD, if you're paranoid, if you're really, really emotional, but you don't know how to channel that emotion correctly, yeah, it's probably going to fuck with you. And I think that that's why a lot of paranoid schizophrenics and, you know, spiritual narcissists, that's why they misinterpret the Bible and just use it as a weapon. And they're really using it as a weapon against themselves, because if you misinterpret it for everybody else and you're so obsessed with certain parts of the Bible that dog homosexuality and dog various types of hedonism, you know, sorcery, idle talk, you know, shit like that. Like there's a lot that is discussed that, okay, this isn't the way that we're supposed to behave. But you know, we all slip up. We all slip up. Nobody's perfect. But we have to try. You know, we have to try a little bit harder to do better every single day. That's the point of reading the Bible. So I think that people get all lost in the woods when, or the, not lost in the woods, lost in the weeds. And probably also the woods, at least for me. But, you know, we get lost in the metaphors of it. Like, I think a lot of the stuff is supposed to be interpreted metaphorically, and we obsess about our interpretation of it, and it screws us up. But I mean, I know I've done that. And me and Judson have talked about that quite a bit. Like, just obsessing about living right. And so I can kind of understand, like, why, like, a lot of liberals and leftists and people that are really obsessed with their gender identity or their sexual identity, like, why they reject the church so much. Because it's just fucked them up. Like, they don't want to believe that they're bad, all because they're wired differently. You know? It's like a lot of people agree with me. In regards to, like, the way that I talk about degenerate behavior and hedonism and all that. But then whenever I turn that around and I say, yeah, we're not supposed to tell other people what to do, though. We're not supposed to be dogmatic about this. We're not supposed to be like, we're not supposed to be like aggressive, you know? I know that my comedy's abrasive, though, for sure. But I mean, that's okay. It's part of the art form. And I can't hardly express anything but my perspective, you know? If you're offended by my perspective, like, you should make some art that explains your perspective. You know? A lot of people hate art, though, currently. Hold on a second. Was it busy today? It probably won't be busy tonight. Adios. But yeah. It's like there's no way to win. You know? It's so funny to me how many people get me wrong, dude. They'll accuse me of having all these other illnesses that I don't actually have, and then they'll act like I don't know I have schizophrenia, even though I mention it, like, every other video. I got called a libtard on Rumble, and I kindly told this person, nope, I'm an anarchist. But yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna badmouth people that struggle with the same thing that I struggle with, or something similar that I struggle with. You know, like, I'm not gonna just make this bold declaration that, like, everybody that is in a certain identity group is fucking evil, or, you know, all these people are bad. That's just not fucking true. You know? I mean, I've met a lot of liberals and even communists that I actually really like. And I've met plenty of people, you know, like, that are more conservative that I don't really think that much of, you know. So it's like, people that want to say that, oh no, it's just these people obsessed with identity. No, it's not. Everybody's obsessed with identity. If you fall for this shit, like, you're part of it. Like, you're subscribing to this idea that identity is what makes us who we are. You know, and that's just not true. You know, we have a spirit. And yeah, there are a lot of people that I think, I don't know if they're possessed or whatever. I need to stop saying that. My priest told me to stop saying that. He said in the 40 years that he's been a priest, he's like, I've seen demonic possession like 3 times or something. So I think it really is like the internet that's doing that. So, you know, since the devil can't do it himself, he'll just use other things to manipulate people. It's really easy for him to do, because we just go along with it because we have desires of the flesh. And so our desire to fit in, our desire to be funny, you know, like, relevant, like, ha ha ha, I'm making a funny statement about the state of our society. The thing is, though, it's really not funny, though. Like, comedy is so terrible now because it's just so shitty. Everything is so shitty all the time that it's like you can't even make fun of it. It's so bad. Because we know, everybody knows on a deeper level that, you know, things are just going to get way worse than they already are. Everything is so bad, and it's just going to get way worse. So I think even trying to make fun of it is futile. But anyway, I gotta go. So, did I make any sense? This is one thing that annoys me about working here, is that people want to talk to me. Yeah, it sucks, like, having an actual personality, you know? Like, people just can't wait to say stuff to you. It doesn't have any substance, but whatever.
Don't you fucking complain. You're the one that started me out at them.